Okay, so this is level 2, Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, and this is lesson 6 on February 18th, all right? Talking a lot about DNA, and in level 1, I was speaking about non-duality and the flying rainbow lasagna as a visual and topological representation of non-duality, and how we can begin to understand consciousness as a spectrum, just like there is a spectrum of matter, or I don't even want to call it matter, because when we think matter, we think solid, even though liquid and gas is also matter. And when we get into plasma, we can't even really describe that as being matter anymore, and light as not being matter. But let's say we understand that there is a spectrum along which substances are arranged, and the substances can be incredibly dense or incredibly not dense, and that we as humans occupy the middle octave of that level of density where we live in the material realm. Okay, and that understanding unity consciousness resides at both poles of the lasagna, both up here and down here. In fact, these are the same little dot that is hopping back and forth very fast between these 2 points. I'm going to talk to you about interdimensional ethics, because do you know something? What I just did, showing you this dot jumping back and forth between these 2 points, I have to have your permission to do that. This is very much like holding hands or kissing someone or going into further levels of intimacy that I won't describe at this moment. But we are talking about what it takes to reach into someone else's mind and make a change. How am I allowed to do this? Interdimensional ethics, and also, I'm going to talk about galactic politics a little bit, and who is reaching into your mind and who is allowed to have access to you, okay? So first of all, DNA, your genes. This is, I'm going to make it big and giant, so I hope you can see it. This is a diagram. If you can see that, that comes from a scientific paper. And these show some of these intertwinings and windings of DNA. And I've gone into, in a previous class, how DNA is not static, how it is constantly twisting, curling, coiling, uncoiling, furling, and unfurling. Remember that class where I played the video for supercoiling? I can do it right now, or we can do it at the end of class, or I can send you the link in homework. But that action of twisting the DNA, or spinning it, literally, adds a lot of energy to it. It makes it in a high energy state when it is very twisted up. And in order to unfurl it and access the information in the DNA, it actually has to be cut and spliced by little enzymes that kind of relieve the tension. They relieve the spring because it's so tightly wound, so that they can actually open up the pages of the book and read it. Just need to drink a little water here. So your DNA is constantly moving. When it's in its chromosomal form, it's not really moving, but at all other times, it is vibrating, just in the same way that the strings within a musical instrument vibrate, all right? And a string, even if it is at rest and it's not vibrating, can pick up vibrations that exist at large. This is harmonics. This is harmonics. I'm just going to draw a little something over here. If this is a guitar or a violin or any stringed instrument, and I'm drawing very, very fat lines so that you can see over here. If I pluck this string over here, I'm trying to highlight it in red so that you can really see it on the back screen back there. If I get that string beginning to vibrate, it will affect the vibration of the other strings just by being in proximity to the waves. These waves are going all this way. They are affecting the other strings. And those waves can make these other strings vibrate sympathetically. And this is how we understand compassion with the human heart. It is literally when your heart vibrates sympathetically to someone else's heart. It's a pretty important understanding that I've spoken before about how unconditional love is like a tone, like music. That's an A. A. And unconditional love is like a tone because it is what happens when your heart is emitting an equal amount of energy that is coming into it. You are submerged in the flow of time, but you are not grasping forward, and you're also not clinging to the past. You are merely at rest in a state of acceptance and allowing energy and concepts and ideas and experiences and senses to flow to you. So that would be the experience of the first person experience of unconditional love. And when it is perceived from the hyperspace realm, it could be perceived as a color or a tone, like, oh, look, that person is glowing green down there. Or, oh, look, that person is making the tone of unconditional love. And unconditional love is it's like an exercise that you do and you cultivate in order to achieve enough currency to be able to perform some of these other maneuvers of higher faculties. So I'm bringing this up because these various strings on the instrument are analogous to you and society. You are one, individual string, and you and your genes are constantly vibrating and, doing their own dance at their rate or at their frequency. And I am vibrating at the frequency of the flying rainbow lasagna, all right? So this comes down to, I said I was going to speak about interdimensional ethics, and this is what it's all about. Questions about how I can be here, why I have to be here, and why don't a bunch of benevolent space aliens just wave their magic wand and poof, fix humanity, all right? So I have already established the premise, and we're in level 2, I can speak openly about, service to self, lower vibrational negative thought entities who have invaded thousands of years ago and created the hacked operating system that's been foisted off on humanity and kept you in mental slavery and kept you in a diminished state of perception and a diminished state of possibility. These overlords that came, they are still aspects of consciousness that are within the galaxy. The galaxy is a being that has characteristics, and some of those characteristics have been distorted and expressed or manifest in these divergent star cultures. So I know that I spoke about this. The star culture that was on Mars and destroyed that planet and could not live there, and also could not live in the world of pure unconditional love, and so created, there was an unwelcome invasion, created a way of entering into the then, I'm bringing up this image of the genes over here, then human genome. What was going on with human genes back then is everyone was dancing in beautiful, perfect harmony. And these negative, lower vibrational thought entities that didn't have their own bodies needed to have some place to go. So they got into your genes. This is the origin of why humans have problems right now. And it helps to understand people on an individual, if you have inner conflict, and also social conflict. Like, why are Shiites always fighting Sunnis? Why did this civil war happen? Why is it always brother against brother? Why is it always brother against brother? And in your own world, in your own life experience, most people have the experience of inner conflict, where there are divergent sets of inner motivations, like the angel on the shoulder and the devil on the shoulder, quote unquote. These are, visual representations from the cultural myths of this era that show how people feel about the conflict within your own mind. So first of all, your mind is a hacked operating system and has been foisted off on you as if it is your own, but it's not really your own. And the hackers that created it and make you have it and use language, they use language to get into your mind and change the operational state of your DNA. Okay? So otherworldly beings are affecting your DNA. This is one of the premises that I'm establishing here. They have been affecting your DNA for a very long time, and they continue to affect it. When I say hacked, that's the whole idea of like someone having access to your computer who's not supposed to have access to it. And hackers often leave a back door. It's not like they just go into your file and take information one time. They like to leave an entryway so that they can get into your computer anytime they want and take information anytime they want. This is the human mind, the hacked operating system, so that these galactic beings that are not unconditionally loving beings can get into your mind anytime they want. And they can cause negative emotional exudations, feelings like anger, sadness, grief, doubt, negativity, all these what we call negative emotions. And they can also cause certain diseases, and they can feed off of the energies that are negative or lower vibrational, less than unconditional love energies that have been created by these diseases, all right? And I would say none of that sounds very fair because that's not consensual. I didn't say, yes, I, allow pathogenic, consciousnesses to come in and harm my body. Far from it. Far from it. We all have a immune system, and we keep out pathogenic viruses and bacterium, and we also have an energetic immune system that needs to keep out these lower vibrational service to self entities. But you don't have to hate them. You can see that they are entities that are traveling to the Bose-Einstein condensate. They are not traveling to the light. This is really crucial, because a lot of people in the shifting of the paradigm from the new perspective are still stuck in the old dualistic perspective of light versus dark, and people who wish to evolve their consciousness fighting against people who are chaotic or wish to diminish their consciousness. Like, something, I wish to become more aware. If I'm going to take a substance that's going to change my thought structure, I want it to be changing my thought structure to being more perceptive and more aware, as opposed to something that would anesthetize me and make me less aware. So some examples of more aware substances. Ayahuasca. I haven't taken it. I probably wouldn't. But that's something that seems interesting because it opens your eyes to see something new that you hadn't ever seen before, as opposed to something that's a tranquilizer or a sedative or even alcohol that really just puts you to sleep and makes you think and see and feel less, all right? When I look around the world, there's a lot of people that ingest substances that make them think and see and feel less, even in terms of daily pharmaceutical use, what society prescribes to you so that you will think and see and feel less, like fluoride and Prozac, which is a derivative of fluoride. All of those things make you think and see and perceive and feel less or feel less intensely. And I cannot judge people who are engaging in that because they might not be heading towards greater awareness. They might be heading towards the Bose-Einstein condensate. Lack of awareness, less awareness, that you can become so unaware that eventually you also achieve unity consciousness. So I cannot judge, someone else's journey. I can say, you look like you're not going in the same direction as me. Definitely, I can say that. But I cannot take someone else, grab them by the shirt and make them come in the same direction as me. Even if I have someone in my life, if they are engaged in alcoholism or substance abuse, even if I love them, if I, love them romantically, I cannot take them to the light if they don't want to go in that direction, and they might be making a choice to go in the opposite direction. So, in terms of resolving the galactic difficulties. This is what I am here to do. This is what the flying rainbow lasagna as a concept and as an energetic structure is. And that is what is shifting the paradigm or ushering in what is quote unquote the new age, or what is making everything different. We're not going to have duality anymore. This is really big. If your identity and sense of self-worth has come from being a light worker, a good person, a positive person who does good, it can be hard for those people to let go of that identity because it's, something that they're attached to. Negative people also sometimes are very attached to their villainhood, to their negative behavior. People who think of themselves as evil or inherently evil or unable to change or whatever. But behavior and consciousness exist on a spectrum. So this is what I am trying to get people to perceive things in a new way, no longer in the strictly binary on or off, light or dark, black or white options, but now understanding that there is a spectrum of consciousness and that spectrum exists within each one of us. So, okay, your genes are antennae, and they not only emit, like these guitar strings that I've drawn here, sending out vibrations, they also receive vibrations. So that means that anything can vibrate, even if I were to be in a room with a guitar and I didn't physically pluck the guitar strings, even if I just sang a note, my voice causes a perturbation in the air that would go to those strings and make them vibrate, okay? Each one of us is affecting everyone else with our genetic vibrations. Your genes are constantly singing a song. However, not everybody's genes are harmonious or in tune. This means that some people have disease, unease in their physical bodies. Some people have disease in their mind and in their perception. And this is also about what you're allowed to be doing when you're in the physical realm. Like, we're all here in the physical realm. This is like the sandbox. This is like kindergarten. You're in the sandbox. Everybody gets to play in the sandbox. The physical realm is represented by this red zone that goes all the way around the edge of the lasagna noodle. And you can see that that is where the flanges meet and fit together. The interior realm, look, orange does not connect with orange. I hope you can see that. Orange does not connect with orange, nor do any other places except for violet. So the physical realm, red, this zone along here, this is the place, like the stage, upon which all consciousness, forces, and particles or expressions of matter exist in order to interact. This is the physical realm, is the stage where physical matter, light energy, consciousness energy, emotional energy, all get into the sandbox to play, all right? And this happens for mutual growth, for all of us to learn and understand. This is also how we resolve duality. Why are these evil beings invading our planet and changing our mind and changing our genetic structure and giving us diseases like cancer? Why are they doing this? We don't like this very much. Why are they doing this? Naughty, naughty. The answer is they're doing it in order to learn. This is the galactic being exploring itself and coming to learn about itself. So the galactic being is like the primary ray of consciousness and has been split into very many galactic cultures. And one of those galactic cultures has had a negative influence on Earth surface human culture about 10 or 12 or whatever, 15,000 years ago. There are a lot of witnesses to this. There's a lot of other galaxies and other beings within our galaxy that have noted, the change and the difficulty. This comes to the question, Aurora, why don't those benevolent service to others, entities, wave their collective magic wand and poof, take off the shackles, set us free, make everything right? And the answer is because we are in a free will world, and we are all affecting one another, and we are all free to affect one another, and then we have to take the responsibility for affecting one another. So, interdimensional ethics, what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. And allowed, anything is allowed. It's not like you're not allowed to do things. It's just that you realize that doing certain things does not take you in the direction you wish to go. So, for example, you can steal as much as you want. You can take things all over the place that aren't yours. But if you recognize in the higher dimensional world, you can't hide anything. So like if I stole a beautiful jewel, right? And I'm like, great, I stole this jewel. Now it's mine and I'm rich. And I tried to show it to anyone. Anyone in the world could be like, hey, nice stolen jewel, Aurora. Where'd you get it? Oh, you stole it from that person over there. Like, there's no way for me to hide the origins of what I have or what I have done. It's literally all written on you and totally perceptible at any moment. So even if you take something that isn't yours, you think it can help you in your life, it cannot, because everyone would simply look at what you have and see very clearly that it's all stolen and that it's not meant to be yours, okay? So you, in the higher dimensional realm where everyone's eye is open, you only have to steal once or twice in order to learn that that is inefficacious behavior. It doesn't take you in the direction you wish to go. If you wish to have treasure that you can impress other people with, you have to get it in a way that's actually impressive. Okay, so beings choose not to simply wave their magic wands and wholesale change what is happening on Earth. They choose not to override the free will and the choices of people who are residing here on Earth. It's kind of like saying that one one should not choose to be an outsider imposing their will on someone or something else. But once you become a part of it, things change. If you become a part of that body, then it is no longer you imposing your free will on something else. In the first part of this lesson, I drew a picture where I was talking about the distinction of cells, right? We've got cell over here, we've got cell over here, and they look at each other and they're like, look, you're different than me, I'm different than you, but they all live within the overarching body. In order to tell another cell what to do, you have to expand your identity to identify with the overarching body. Cell 1 is not allowed to tell cell 2 what to do, but the overarching body is allowed to tell both cells what to do. So it's like saying, I'm not allowed to tell other humans what to do. I'm a human, you're a human, we're both living on Earth, but what if I can expand my sense of self to the planetary consciousness, to the size of the planet, and embody Earth? Then I can say, hey, you're a cell on my body, and I'm sovereign, and you're not allowed to do that on my body. So this is interdimensional ethics. It has everything to do with unconditional love, because if you're traveling towards the Bose-Einstein condensate, it is not loving of me if I pick you up in a wheelbarrow and bring you to the light. It's like the snail is going across the path, and you think, I'm going to help it. I'm going to pick it up and put it where it needs to go. And then you realize that you put it in the wrong direction. And you just made it have literally twice as much of a journey as it would have had otherwise. It is highly presumptive to say that everyone is supposed to go towards your destination. Everybody has their individual destination. And it is unconditionally loving to respect that and not to try to strong-arm other people into being who and what you are and doing what you wish for them to do. Likewise, it is not okay for other beings to impose their will upon you. Dun, 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 dun. Let's talk lasagna, because I'm the flying rainbow lasagna and I'm not allowed to impose my will on you. I am not allowed to come down here and force anyone to be or act like a lasagna. All I can do is give you options. So first of all, let's talk about how you even developed your genetic code as you're currently using it. You've got the raw materials of your genes, and then you're dancing with your genes. Like anything, you're doing a dance. It could be a waltz, it could be the mashed potato, it could be anything. The same body can do both a waltz and do the mashed potato. It's not a limitation of the body. It's about the way you're using the body. So the same genetic structure can vibrate in a variety of different formats. Here's a fascinating thing that I would like to share with you. Nearsightedness is not genetic. It comes from the way that people use their eyes. So this is just, I know, a little bit tangential, but goes back to the early 20th century. Dr. Bates, he developed a series of eye exercises for people to reverse nearsightedness after he did research on indigenous populations in places like Alaska, what we would call the Inuit people, that when they were pre-literate, there was zero instance of needing corrective lenses. They could see perfectly, both near and far. And with the education and literacy, they found that subsequent generations began to be nearsighted and required glasses. And Dr. Bates researched this and found that if he took those young people and trained them to do eye exercises during the day and broke up their reading time, that it reversed the nearsightedness. And Dr. Bates also found that children, like in the industrialized world where everyone was being educated, more and more children were having to use glasses, but it wasn't because of a genetic aspect. Everyone thinks, oh, mommy and daddy wear glasses, therefore little baby will have to wear glasses. No, no, no. It's because we model our behavior on our parents. And little tiny children unconsciously or subconsciously or supraconsciously are modeling everything about the way they use their body on their parents or their primary caregivers. And Dr. Bates noted that parents who were nearsighted, they stared and they did not use their eyes in sweeping, circular, or arcing natural movements. And because he did this whole thing, it's about cognitive dissonance and having to move your eyes in straight lines like this across a piece of printed page, which is not the way we would ordinarily use our eyes in nature, where we would be using our eyes in much more flowing circular movements. Parents who did not use their eyes in natural movements had offspring who learned not to use their eyes in natural movements. They learned to stare, they learned not to use their peripheral vision, and they were also encouraged to learn to read and spend hours a day reading, and all of this led to nearsightedness. So this is just one example of how first of all, you are not a victim of your genes. Epigenetics has everything to do with what is in your genes is not necessarily synonymous with what is expressed. And also, this has to do with what I call learning the dance steps from the people around us. When you're a little tiny child, not only do you learn verbalized language so that you can communicate to your caregivers and say, hey, I want juice, or I need this, or my diaper needs changing, but you also are modeling body posture. Some people have stiff neck. They hold their shoulders up like this all the time. Some people round their shoulders over, rounding their shoulders over, body posture. Children mimic their parents' body posture and everything about them. I need to pause the recording in the back, but here we go. Trying to label them because they do get lost. Thank you for bearing with me. Very good. Influencing other people. Oh, hey, I told that story about how I used to be a professional nanny and professional babysitter, and I used to joke that I was lasagnifying the young people, but I really was. And all of this has to be consensual. It would not be cool if I climbed into some young child's bedroom, without their parents' knowledge or consent, and started to, be a lasagna in their presence and everything like that. In fact, because what I'm trying to say here is that I recognize I am having an impact on other people just by vibrating in a different way in their presence. I need to bring up another picture, and then I can focus completely on what I'm saying and not try to do too many things at once. Here, let's bring up a picture of DNA. Here we go. And let me bring up a flying rainbow lasagna too. So the flying rainbow lasagna is a new dance step or a new pattern with which we can dance our genes. Your genes end up going around the curly edge of the lasagna noodle. I hope you can see that. I'm going to make it super, super fat and heavy so you can see it like this. They end up going around the edge of the curly lasagna noodle like that. And of course you have another strand on the other side that also goes around the other side. Don't worry, I've just done a very rudimentary drawing. We'll get into it in much greater depth, and I've done it in level 1 also. But this is the understanding that the flying rainbow lasagna is like a space holder that you are able to use on a genetic level to unfurl your genes into a new pattern. Like what I said before, the same feet and legs can do both a waltz and the mashed potato. The same strands of DNA can both be in the format of non-flying rainbow lasagna humans and flying rainbow lasagna humans. The difference is the way that we're using those raw materials, or the way that we are dancing and making those genes vibrate. So it's not cool if I make someone else do something that they don't want to do, that they don't wish to do. It's not cool if I impose something upon you without your knowledge or consent or sovereignty. Like if you never knew of the existence of the flying rainbow lasagna and I snuck into your bedroom at night and I lasagnified you, that would not be cool. That's not okay because you don't have knowledge of it. I didn't ask your permission. I'm making changes on a basic level. So we understand in terms of affecting one's child that seems appropriate because you are the caregiver and responsible person for that child. You know, it's appropriate to raise your own child. It's not appropriate to raise someone else's child. So here I come to Earth in 2001, and I am vibrating in a very different way than the people that are vibrating on the surface of the planet. And everybody is affecting everyone else. This is the sandbox of reality. This is the free-for-all, where you're allowed to do whatever. You know, you're allowed to affect other people. And then, of course, take the consequences of what you have done. So if you're Charles Manson and you killed a bunch of people or you did some very negative things, you then take the consequences of that. So this is the answer to the question, why, let me get going on this recording back here. Why I have come into this realm, because it would have been highly inappropriate for me, from the vantage point of the hyperspace realm, to look down into the, oh, look, ants are burning under a microscope, something terrible is happening down there. It's kind of like, what is my right to intervene? Because, in level 1, I spoke about the creation of the first cell membrane, the first distinction, individuation, how individuation was necessary as a portion or a chapter on the pathway. We needed to, individuation is going away from source. Source consciousness is unity consciousness. It is the presence of everything. You are there with everyone and with everything. And individuation means that you're not with everyone anymore. You're an individual. And that was necessary to break away and be an individual. And then find out what happens when you get together a bunch of individuals. What happens when you get together 1 trillion individuals? You get a totality. This is me. I'm a person, and I am made of trillions of cells. That's amazing. This is so amazing to experience. yes, each one of my cells has its own agenda and its own free will. And then, of course, it resides within my body. All right, so now we get to talk about interdimensional ethics. Let's say healthy cells versus mutated or cancerous cells. We define a pathogenic cell as one that does not keep in its agenda the totality or the health of the total being. A cell that is mutated and works only for itself at the expense of the totality, we call a disease. All right? So on the higher consciousness level, benevolent galactic beings perceive these diseased beings causing harm on the Earth surface culture level. This is how can this exist for so long? How come nothing has been done for so long? Because this is the sandbox of reality where all of these particles and forces and personality characteristics are acting, and they act so that they can be healed. They have to come to awareness or come into the light or be made aware of what is going on so that they can be healed. And healed means coming to wholeness, all right? So it would have been inappropriate for me to impose healing on Earth's surface culture. It's not meant to be an external authority figure making something happen. I had to submerge myself and become a part of the organism. It's like saying, I'm not allowed to tell what the people in France, tell them what they should do. I'm not allowed. You know what? I live in the United States. I'm allowed to tell people in California and in the United States what they should do. People in France are supposed to tell themselves what to do. I'm not supposed to tell them what to do. If I want to affect France and French people, the ethical way to do it is for me to actually move there, become a citizen, own property, have a stake in the community, and then I'm allowed to have an impact in that world. So I had to come here into a physical body and into Earth surface human culture in order to make these changes. Could not simply impose them externally. And I cannot impose them on any one of you. Like I told you, that I theoretically have to ask for your permission to put new thoughts and ideas, like the flying rainbow lasagna, into your mind and into your energy field. It is not unconditionally loving, and it's not sovereign if I literally forced the lasagna on you. If I forced it into your mind, if I took your genes and I exposed them to the flying rainbow lasagna magnetic field and did that against your will without your knowledge and consent, that is technically not ethical. What is ethical is for me to present the flying rainbow lasagna as a concept and as an idea and offer it to you and teach you the dance steps of how to do it. It is ethical for me to present myself as a model or an alternative for a new vibratory frequency. So everybody had parents, and their parents presented themselves as a model and said, act like me, eat like me, walk like me, talk like me. Children really mimic their parents a lot, and we even have these specific cells within our brain and neurological structure that are all about mimicking others and mimicking emotional states so that we can better communicate with others. Like a smiley, happy face makes you mimic that feeling and that face. An angry, mean, frowning face also makes you mimic that face and mimic that feeling. And these neurons make you do this. It's part of your biological structure. We are constantly being reflected by our outer realm and then reflecting our outer realm. This is also telling you that you are vibrating and you are tuned. So just like an instrument is tuned, like here's a C. All right, that's arbitrarily tuned to a particular frequency that musicians in this time and place have decided we're calling that a C, all right? And humanity is like musicians, and everybody's singing their own tune. These are your genes. Your genes are hopping and bopping. They are constantly vibrating and you're all singing your own tune. And guess what? That is ethical. It's supposed to be that way. This is a free-for-all. You're allowed to do it. I read a beautiful story today about a person who has Down syndrome, and they're an actress, and they're, doing very well, and they're in the national spotlight, and like a good model for people who have a different set of chromosomes. Down syndrome literally means that that person's genetic structure is different than the vast majority of humanity. However, it's not that they are doing something interdimensionally illegal in any way. They are embodying a different frequency or a different harmonic vibration. And there is a divine purpose to each one of us being here and playing whatever note they're playing. You might play a very, very low C, and someone else might play a very, very high C, but that is still harmonic. These are beautiful nested harmonies. And I want to get into when someone is out of tune. So when someone is genetically out of tune, they have an impact on the people around them. When you're in tune, you have an impact on people around you. When you are embodying the state of unconditional love, you have an impact on the people around you. Let's talk about what has been known as the Maharishi effect, but what can also be called the meditation effect, because if you do a Google search for Maharishi effect, you'll find the article. This was from, I believe, the area of Washington, D.C., and it was done in the 1970s when a large group of thousands of people practiced transcendental meditation at certain times. They, at the same time and in the same geographic area. And then crime statistics were analyzed about when the meditators were meditating. When you meditate, you create a coherent field, and when you meditate with other people, you amplify each other's fields. So it's like saying, if I'm singing, and I'm singing, one note, hey, and it's only that loud, but if many, many people get together and sing the note, hey, then it gets very loud. And you can even have, if you've ever done an Om, chanting Om with a very large group of people, amazing harmonics start to happen because there's like crescendos of the sound builds and it gets bigger and then it peters out and it gets lower. It's quite amazing. It's like the susurration of sparrows. So you are affecting other people with your vibration, and you are being affected by them. So basically, to wrap up on the Maharishi effect, statistically, it was found that there was a correlation during those times of less violent crime. Violent crime went down a significant amount, more than could be ascribed to a simple deviation of, calculations. So more than just the standard error. And this is to understand that when you meditate, when you embody the tone of unconditional love, you are affecting the world around you. You're allowed to. You're supposed to. It's like saying you're breathing out oxygen. Like, yes, you're breathing out oxygen. You're here. You're in the realm. You are affecting the realm, and you are being affected by the realm. So in order to affect the realm, I had to come into the realm. Now let's get into how much can I affect the realm, right? I can vibrate like a flying rainbow lasagna. I can be a model for others. I can make artwork and images of it and songs about it and teach you all about it. And even when you are being subjected to my voice, to pictures of me, or being in my physical presence, you are being lasagnified. You are being irradiated with flying rainbow lasagna energy. The reason why I ask students to sign up and formally enroll in the class is because it has to be ethical. I'm not allowed to just wave my flying magic lasagna wand and lasagna everyone. People have to say, yes, I choose to expose myself to the lasagna ideas. I choose to either listen to or read about or look at a lasagna and learn about it. So it's very important that this is consensual. It's not something that is imposed on anyone else, because this is about which direction you're going. Which direction is your energy going? Are you going towards energy or are you going towards entropy? So right now the flying rainbow lasagna is the next level that it is necessary to embody in order to go on that ascension pathway, to go towards energy. If a person wants to go away from energy and towards entropy, they're allowed to choose that. I cannot make them not choose that. So the flying rainbow lasagna, let's say I'm a singer and I'm singing and it's my lasagna energy is coming out of me. I'm joking because I am a singer and I do sing lasagna energy out to the world every day. And you can even say, but wait, Aurora, isn't that against energetic ethics? Like, you're not allowed to be irradiating all of the blades of grass that you're singing in front of and all the insects that fly in front of your face and everything like that. And the answer is that yes, it is appropriate for me to be doing that because people have a choice about what they do with energy, with, the lasagna energy and how it affects them. So some people might choose not to accept it. They might choose to, even though it is affecting their consciousness, to not embrace it. Like, a lot of people look at the advertisements that I send out for this class, and some people are interested, some people are neutral, and some people are actively against it, and they reject it, and they say, no, that's not for me. That's appropriate. It's totally appropriate. If I come to this world with a food for the mind, it is appropriate for people to make a choice about whether they ingest it and how much is comfortable to ingest it. And of course, because I am a unconditional love being, I choose not to impose it on others. It is inefficacious for me to come here and impose the lasagna on you. Like, one does not impose freedom upon someone else or impose, lack of restrictions. It is an option. It is offered to you as an option. So what I try to do with everything is make the lasagna highly publicized. People cannot choose to eat this food if they don't know that it exists. And I offer it to people. I don't force it on them, because if they are choosing not to eat it, that's totally their choice. But the lasagna is having an impact on the planet. Waves of love and compassion have an impact on the planet, even if they don't have the intention of changing and fixing others. Okay? So unconditional love, ironically enough, is like saying to the universe, I accept you. I accept you. I accept you. A true transcendental meditator would accept and does accept the existence of a murderer. And the ironic part is that by sitting in a state of total acceptance, you reduce murder. You accept that murderers exist, bloodthirsty tendencies exist, violence exists, and you accept it. You're not sitting in a state of judgment saying, naughty, naughty murderers, you're not supposed to exist, stop killing people, naughty, naughty. If, shaking the finger of blame, if that actually stopped that behavior would not exist. There's tons of blame. What there lacks right now is acceptance. People have to make a concerted effort, like making a concerted effort to have good posture, like I'm holding my spine erect. People have to make an effort to accept others and accept the behavior of others. And as I've said, it's kind of opposite, but when you are accepting, other people's behavior actually changes. So I am here as a flying rainbow lasagna, as an example of what can be, not as an overlord imposing it upon you. And I'm a very loud singer in the chorus. I'm very loud because people need to be able to hear this as an opportunity to match their own frequency to this note beyond the chaos, beyond the lack of organization that is so prevalent in many other people's songs or emanations. I am not the only walk-in here. I am not the only extraterrestrial presence affecting humanity here on the planet. But I will tell you that I'm having a very powerful impact as an abstraction. Just being here, it would be like if one, within the totality of your own individual body, if one cell of your body was able to connect to source and begin vibrating at a higher rate. All right? That would affect everyone else in the totality of the body, because you are all like, I'm just drawing some strings over here in the corner so you can see you're all like guitar strings. And if one string is vibrating like this, that's going to affect all of the other strings. If one cell in your body raises its vibration and connects to source, it affects the totality of the cells that are in the entire body. And when I talk about the flying rainbow lasagna, this is a bridge that we are able to use to get around whatever blockages might have cut humanity off from the energy and awareness and intelligence and organizing principles that exist at the source, that humanity has been artificially separated from that. So it's like being in tune, like the chorus leader is saying, this is a C, and humanity gets cut off and can't hear anymore. And so then over time, humanity is not singing a C, humanity is down here. Humanity is way off course. Humanity is not singing the song of unconditional love any longer. And so now it is time to, refocus or change course, but it is about retuning humanity to return to the level of unconditional love. And the reason why we need flying rainbow lasagna to do that is because of the genetic blockage. This is a tool for hopping around the genetic blockages so that humanity can return to a state of unconditional love. I'll tell you my personal motivations for teaching people about the flying rainbow lasagna. I wish to live in a world full of lasagnas. That would be a beautiful world. Like if you gave me a choice, if I could either live in a world where I have, millions of dollars and I live in a gated community with security guards and, private helicopters and, fly everywhere and go everywhere in a limo. And meanwhile, there's the rest of humanity living in poverty, like struggling to survive and being out of tune, making all the wrong notes. Or would I rather live in a world where lots of other people become flying rainbow lasagna energy people too, and where we are all singing in divine harmony, and that seems to be a lot more happy and comfortable, and having the opportunity to collaborate with other people that are of a similar vibration. I told you that it is open source code for one's DNA. This is not proprietary, like I'm holding it for me. I'm holding it for me. I'm the only lasagna and I'm not sharing it with anyone. Like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm doing the opposite. I am intending to share it with others as much as possible, to teach everyone else how they can make their own lasagna and raise their vibration by connecting to source. And then we would have a planet and a planetary culture that would all be higher in vibration and reconnected to source, okay? This is my vision and my choice and my agenda. But you know something? It's a big galaxy, and there are divergent space cultures that have different agendas. I recorded a lesson that's all about Cancer. I'm not going to get into it right now, but suffice it to say that there's a whole nebula full of energy beings and consciousnesses that hate you, want you to die, and want you to get cancer and die, all right? And that's not cool. That's not loving. I'm trying to tell you, it's kind of like if you're provincial and you've never left your small little town in Kansas, and I have to tell you, hey, you know something, there's an island called Manhattan where there's people that will steal your wallet and, you know, crush you and send you to the gutter, like they're in an instant without a thought. Yes, there are a lot of negative and service to self entities that exist, and your genes are an antenna, a structure, an apparatus that the variety of beings in the galaxy act through. So we all have within us a spectrum. And you get to choose with your genes who is acting through you, who is causing your genes to vibrate. Which star cultures that you are connected to do you wish to act through you and speak through you and sing through you out into this realm? Because remember, what the vibration that you are emanating is affecting others, and what others are emanating is affecting you. So there are people who exist who have embodied and embraced the lower vibrational genetic tendencies, and they can absolutely have an impact on you. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had this experience. I have. Literally, walking down the street, I could tell, this was like a stranger walking through our small town of Woodstock where I lived. I could tell, oh, that guy over there is going to try to beam some negative energy towards me. Like, I cannot even describe or define how I perceived it or how I could tell that it was going to be negative. But this person across the street, they turned towards me, and I totally felt a sense of anger and disapproval and kind of like, I couldn't see their face, but I could sense they were making this face at me, like, you know, like that. And I understood in all of this, was all insight, direct perception, that person had a genetic structure that non-earthly and negative energy presences, entities, were acting through. They were acting through him. It wasn't even that corporeal human that was negatively impacting me. It was non-corporeal entities that lived in another place or possibly in another time that were acting through that person as a portal or through that person as a conduit. So this is just an anecdote to hopefully get you to understand that we are all like windows or portals for consciousness, and many beings are speaking and acting through us. And oftentimes people are unaware of the nature of who is acting through you. So that guy who turned and gave me the sourpuss face, he probably wasn't aware at all that he was being a conduit for demonic energy. People are unaware, and demonic energy, or lower vibrational service to self negative energy, tends to act through the blind spots, through lack of awareness. So simply becoming aware that your genes are an antenna and you're picking up awarenesses from all over the place is part of it. And then we begin to be selective about which consciousnesses we embrace and allow to speak through us. When negative consciousnesses come to me, like, you know, anger and grief and sorrow and judgment of others, I'm like, not interested, you know, like, you're not coming through this antenna. I use this antenna for higher consciousness thoughts of unconditional love and joy. You know, all of the topics that I speak about in this class are what I embody during my day. I try to embody this acceptance, and I will tell you, it's very difficult. I have to accept the sour notes of humanity. I see them and I hear them, I feel them and I perceive them, and it's very difficult for me to live in this realm submerged with all of the it's like being in a symphony and you're trying to play, you know, some beautiful music, and there's a lot of sour notes going on around you. It's very, very challenging. Oh, so you know something? I have to end the recording in the background. It's almost the end of this class. Hold on one second while I write. I have to properly label everything and make sure that the labels get into there. Otherwise, I think it takes too long and I never get to it. Thank you very much for understanding. So I also see that there's a couple of chat questions that came up. Let me get to this. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out what this says. Hold on a moment. Okay, so this is from Mike. Interesting that earlier you said electrons don't flow out of time, and in haunted houses people have had the experience of flashlight and video cameras that have stopped working. Okay, so this is interesting. I like this topic. This is about the supernatural. And let me turn off my little, there we go, turn that thing off. The supernatural. So it used to be that there was only film cameras, there were not digital cameras, and it was very hard to take a picture of a ghost or to take a picture of some of these energy experiences that people have sometimes, like orbs or auras. I'm looking for my cell phone, it's across the room somewhere, but basically cell phone technology has come to us from extraterrestrials. This is a good example of it. Like, we are an antenna to receive information. Some non-earthly beings give information that is not good. They say, hey, I've got a great idea. Why don't you make some genetically modified food? Make some genetically modified corn. That'll be really great. You know, giving humanity destructive ideas or ideas about uncontrolled nuclear power. These are like not helpful and not healthful ideas. But higher dimensional entities do come to humanity and give humans helpful and healthful ideas. And I mean, this has been going on for a long time. This is the whole desire behind it. One second. So I got to tell you, cell phones and the technology and Apple computer technology that was shared with the people who ran Apple computers, the people who made that technology, the humans who made that technology, were telepathically connecting with, I would say, more benevolent extraterrestrials, like not perfectly benevolent, but benevolent enough to want to give humanity effective tools for perceiving energy beings and more subtle structures. All right? Because a lot of times people would perceive supernatural events or things, and I tried to take a picture of it, but it didn't come out on film and no one would believe me. So now we have a time when everyone carries a cell phone, and cell phones have what I am informing you is extraterrestrial technology, or technology inspired by and influenced by, space races and galactic beings. Your digital cameras on your cell phone are more sensitive and more capable of being able to perceive the subtle energies. So, like, I saw an interesting video taken off a cell phone of a person looking at one of these crystal skulls. I don't know if it was the Mitchell Hedges skull, but you could very clearly see orbs of violet light shooting out of the skull. And people have been recording some of these phenomenon where they see orbs, energy, flowing energy, columns of energy. And it's because the newer digital cameras and the cameras that are on cell phones are really sensitive to be able to perceive these things. So, and this also has to do with orbs and supernatural beings. It takes a lot less energy to stimulate the apparatus of a digital camera than it does to cause the chemical reaction on physical film. If you are a non-corporeal being, like being of pure energy or pure spirit or a ghost or a supernatural being, it takes a lot more energy to make anything happen. Like if you wanted to touch a molecule of silver nitrate and make it appear as an image on old-fashioned film, that takes a lot more energy than it does to use your consciousness to affect a digital camera. And it's because a digital camera is happening at the level of electricity and electrons, which are quantum and which are based in consciousness, as opposed to the macroscopic realm of chemical reactions, where you actually have to have a molecule mush against another molecule and have something happen. So it's also like saying, if you were a ghost and you wanted to like make your presence known, it takes a lot of energy to turn on a physical light switch. A lot of energy, but it doesn't take that much energy to change something in your computer's hard drive, or to make your computer keyboard think that a key has been pressed down. Like a little tiny energetic impulse can make that happen. So I know your question was about draining of batteries or flash bulbs that don't actually work, and I don't know if I have answered it specifically. I'm trying to say that digital cameras right now are better able to perceive what's going on in the supernatural realm than film cameras were able to perceive. All right, cool. Just wanted to make sure, because I know it wasn't exactly about that. You know what? I'm going to end the recording for the class.